Hello and welcome to this very wet Granny's garden morning. Last week it was the turn of the woodland border. This week it is the turn of the shrub border. There's still a lot of planting to be done, but at least it's moving in the right direction. Starting a shrub border in a country like Spain, especially in the centre of Spain where I get very, very hot summers, very, very cold winters, is tough. It's tough on me and it's definitely tough on the plants. Why? Because when you start something, they're all tiny and small. And smaller things tend to be more tender and more exposed to things like hot or cold. And it takes time for the actual shrubs to become bigger and more established when they can take harder extremes of weather. Let's get up close and I'll show you what I mean. Now, in an earlier video, I explained how these tongues of fire coming up from the Sahara Desert in waves in summer in Spain cause havoc and leaf scorch. This is the camellia, which is now recovering, but it is sensitive to leaf scorch. But in front of it, if I pull back, and surrounding it, I have this bed of Nandina, the heavenly bamboo. These plants here are as tough as nails. So when they grow up, they're going to give protection to that camellia behind. And I'm just going to have this beautiful camellia bush poking up behind this ring of Nandinas. That's the way I protect them. I get tough as nail plants, like the Nandina, like the red twig dogwood, and like the spirea that's there, to surround more sensitive plants. So I'm just going to hop down this border now, showing you what I've got and what I've not got. So I'm starting where I planted the Persian silk tree the other day. That is the European fan palm here, right at the edge of the hidden patio, with a little fire glass around it. And then, as I pointed out, I've got a hibiscus. It's recently planted, so it's going to fill in this whole area, and this gets a lot of exposure to the sun. Then behind it, I've got a coprosma. This is Pacific Dawn. Behind that, I have got the thornless blackberry, which hopefully is going to provide me with lots of fruit for next year for my bramble tarts. Then, as I said, I have the camellia and the three Nandinas. Coming further down, as I've showed you before, I've got the bald cypress here with my prunus there. The camellia that's more sheltered, the Macrophylla hydrangea. This is a rejuvenated spirea, so that's going to get very big the way it was before, with lovely, beautiful branches of spirea bridal wreath. Then over here, I've got this lovely little old rose. This is the blush noisette that I transplanted, that for a year and a half remained about a foot high, and now it's coming on beautifully. Obviously likes this spot a lot. Behind, just coming into its autumn colours now, I have the Cornus florida, and this one looking very dull at the moment. It's a royal purple smoke bush. Obviously the leaves are about to fall off, so it's not the best time to be showing a shrub border. In November, things are definitely going to sleep, but it is what it is. Then peeking out behind, I have got the limelight, which is looking great in its first year, but what a great buy. My local garden centre, can you believe it? Then here, I've got the viburnum tinus. As you can see, it's quite high and it's just coming into bud. Now, in a very short time, these tiny little things are going to become like little pink pearls, and I actually prefer the pink pearls that remain all winter than the actual flower itself. I think they're beautiful. They're almost like a metallic-like, absolutely gorgeous. Now, from the viburnum downwards, things tend to get a little bit more scant because, I mean, this is the area I've been concentrating on, and it is quite a long border, and things have to be done bit by bit. So next to the viburnum, I've got the weigela. This was definitely the runt of the litter. I picked it up at a clearance, and it's beginning to recover, but still got a long way to go. So I don't know if I'm going to keep it, but at the moment it's doing okay. That, as I said, is the limelight. Over here, I'm not liking this at all. This is a corkscrew, and don't like it at all. Then I've got another one of these climbing roses that I have popped up all over the garden. This is another runt of the litter. This is vanilla fraise. What I'm probably going to do now is lift that and I'll put it in a pot and send it into my plant hospital and let it grow and become a lot stronger before I replant it in the ground, or I might even keep it in a pot. This is doing amazing. This is the rice plant, and the little flowers look like rice grains. I bought it this size, and I'd say it's tripled in size, probably tripled. Lovely, soft, feather-like leaves, like little needle-like leaves, but they're soft, they're not like Christmas tree leaves. Then underneath that, or in front of that, I've got one of these hebes. This is a variegated hebe. Still, amazingly, in November, it's got some flowers on it. Beside that, on an obelisk, I've got another of the climbing roses, still in bloom. And behind it, I've got the other vanilla fraise. Obviously, a lot different than the little runt over there, which is doing very sad indeed in comparison to this big one. Over here, I've got the New Zealand tea tree. As you can see, there's a lot of bare ground here. And then right in the corner, just hop up very quickly, I have planted a Fatsia japonica to fill in this entire area. It's between the wall and the fence, so it should be very, very protected. And can you see what here is in the corner? Yes! The new fence! Woohoo! So if you can see from this angle, a lot of bare patches to be planted, but from a certain point upwards, it's beginning to look nice and dense, and you can sort of see what the future mature shrub border is going to look like. But now let's go up and have a look at the new addition, which is hiding behind this Russian olive. Ta-cha! This is the Salix integra Hakuro Nishiki, otherwise known as the variegated willow, the tricoloured willow, the dappled willow, and even the flamingo tree. Now, fall is the best season for planting, but it definitely is not the best season for showing it off. I'm going to put a photo on the screen so you can see it. This new growth is pink with white variegation, absolutely stunning. As the season progresses, the pink turns to green, so you're going to have green and white variegation. And like the Photinia red robin, if you want to keep this pink flush up, you can trim it lightly through the year, as long as you cut off in mid-August. You don't want any cutting, any pruning from mid-August onwards, because then the new growth will not be hardy enough before the first frosts arrive. So keep it trimmed, keep that new growth, that beautiful pink growth coming, and cut off mid-August. Now, how you shape prune this is totally personal choice. It has a more or less rounded shape. If you like topiaries, you can trim it into this perfect globe shape. Every time you trim it, these inner branches are going to get thicker and thicker. So you will actually have a dense, non-see-through ball. I, as you all know, like things to be more flexible, more whip-like. So I will be giving it a general globe-like structure, but I won't be cutting all my branches to the same length. Now, apart from getting, if you do that type of pruning, which is what I like, what you're going to get is two different things. First, a looser bush or shrub, and secondly, two different colours. Because the longer branches are going to have the green and white variegation because they're older and will have changed colour, and the ones I cut are going to have the pink and green variation, the pink and white variegation. So, nice movement going on in the tree, and that's what I'm looking for. But again, it is personal choice. The other thing I want to discuss is the two different forms they sell it in. It can be sold as a shrub, or it can be sold like this one as a grafted tree. Now, the grafted tree can be something as short as a 2-foot trunk, or this is a 4-foot trunk. It's about up to chest height on my height, and I'm 5'4". So about the 4-foot mark is the one I have chosen. You can get smaller ones, and the trunk will get stouter, but it won't ever get larger. The other thing to note is that if you want a tree, buy a tree. This is one of the few cases that you can't make properly a tree out of a shrub. Because these branches are willow branches and they're very flexible, it means that all of the trunks are very flexible, and it's very difficult to get a strong enough trunk to be able to survive this. So what they do is they get a different willow, a stronger willow on the trunk side, and then graft onto it the Hakuro Nishiki on the top. So best of both worlds, nice sturdy trunk, nice floaty upper parts. Now these trees usually come with a tag saying that they're top off at about 6 to 8 foot tall. I've always got a question mark about things like that, because obviously, first thing, it depends on the size of the trunk. If I have a 2-foot trunk, then probably yes, it would top out at 6 foot. I've got a 4-foot trunk, I'm 5'4", and this is already branches taller than me. It's probably about 6'2" at the moment, and it's obviously going to get bigger. But I'm not going to let it get out of hand. This is a tree that I want to keep pruned. I want a cascade effect. I want the new growth effect. So now and again, I'm going to be coming along and just shortening the branches so I get this new flush of pink constantly during the growing season. And I'm looking for an understory. I've already got trees on the above, and I've got shrubs below, and I want this beautiful thing poking out above the level of the shrubs, cascading down in all its glory. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's getting pretty cold at the moment, and it's about to rain, so I'm going to head off in to have a nice cup of tea to warm myself up. I hope you've enjoyed seeing this shrub border progressing. It has come a long way in 6 months. Clearing it out was a huge job, but at least planting it up is nicer. I've still got a lot of work to do, particularly on the lower end where it's completely sparse, but that's just a question of time. For the moment, from me, that's enough, and I hope to see you here next week with me in Granny's garden, and we'll get up to some more mischief. For the moment, bye-bye now. Look at the street view. Clean, finally, and it follows perfectly the inclination of the actual stone wall itself. There's quite an inclination here. You can't notice it, but it is quite steep. And finally I've got it in. It's giving nice shade to the plants behind from my woodland area. The only elephant in the room is the old gate, which we're trying to get rid of, we're trying to get a quote on, but at least it doesn't affect the garden. But great improvement, oh my gosh!